Big fam. We have like a false fall. It's cooler out right now. Don't worry, everyone in the south, it'll get warm again. But it is a great day to garden in this weather. I actually have to do a few things today. I put up all this new weed fabric, this weed barrier, and it's awesome. Just get the good stuff. I'll put a link in the description to the weed fabric that I bought on Amazon. It's pretty great stuff. I'm really excited, and it's sturdy and it'll last. So I have to lay some more today because you can see here, all the way out, covered. Over here, after about 2 years, the basic level 1 coverage is spent. So we'll get that laid out. And I have to make some potting soil. And I'll show you my quick combination of what I add. And then I always amend with worm castings, fertilizers on top of it. But it's a great baseline that if you are gardening regularly and you have a lot of pots, it's actually way more affordable to make your own using these 4 simple ingredients and then a little bit of fertilizers along the way. All right, let's get into it. It's starting to rain out, but we're gardeners, so it doesn't affect us. Unless it's cold, you might want to layer up. But I have my own little mix. It's really, really simple. And it has lots of substitution options, so which is also great. But I usually mix it with my hands. I don't use a whole lot of shovels, and you can see what I have right here. And there are 4 main ingredients. There is the compost that I use. I'm not particular. I tend to lean towards mushroom compost because I just like the idea of fungal growth in my compost systems towards the greater biome. I add perlite, which is my inorganic material that creates porosity in my soil. I prefer coconut coir, but if I don't have coconut coir available, I will go get some peat, and I will then add soil conditioner. And soil conditioner is just like really fine mulch. The idea is to make it easy for you guys, and the idea is to make it easy for me, just because I have enough fig trees that I need to be making soil fairly regularly. I am using bag stuff today, but if you can go get a nice stockpile area, in fact, I do have weed blocker underneath here as well, but this is my stockpile area for all my compost. I'm actually bringing you guys into the greenhouse. Special edition, summertime in the greenhouse. So what I have here is my mushroom compost. Then I'm adding my peat. Now, peat and coconut coir both are generally sold quite dehydrated. Peat less so, and peat, if you look here, I have this hydrated, and I'm basically going to do equal parts of everything, 25% or a quarter of everything proportionately. So here's my soil conditioner, and if you're curious about what soil conditioner looks like, it is just fine mulch pieces. That's all it is. It's raining out, so they're exceptionally wet. But this is great. It creates good aeration for your soil, and then it breaks down over time into more organic material. So I really do love it in that regard. It complements perlite. So perlite is our last ingredient. Perlite are these rocks, right? These popcorn rocks. They heat up and they expand and pop, and they are light and they are fluffy, but they don't break down over time. And so I do 25% each of my compost, my peat or coconut coir, my soil conditioner, and my perlite. And I just put it in here. If the ratios range 5% more, 5% less of any given ingredient, then you can just adjust accordingly. When I use peat, I actually add garden lime. Fig trees like a more neutral soil, and peat tends to be acidic. It can even fall down into the 4s. It's generally in that low 5s range. Fig trees like it about 6.5 to 7. They're really like a more neutral soil. And that is probably because of where they originated and where they prefer that more alkaline soil climate, or I should say, more balanced soil climate. And here in the Southeast, sometimes we can have more of an acidic climate, depending on where you are, but we would have more alkaline soils if you're closer to the beach. When I'm working with peat, I will actually add garden lime. And I usually do like a quarter cup per gallon of peat that I use. And I get in powdered form and I just mix it in. Garden lime is just dolomitic limestone. So it's just adding that calcium carbonate and that magnesium to your soil, and it helps bring the pH up. And fig trees really like garden lime, so I highly recommend that. But alas, I have my peat in this bucket here. I can go ahead and dump it in. I have my soil conditioner. And I can just dump it in here. Look at that. We're going to top this bag off perfectly. There's a little bits in there left. Did I get it all? Yep. So soil conditioner in. Mushroom compost, your important amendment, the densest of them all. Oh. So you notice I'm not too particular. Dump that in. And why stop there when we can add the perlite? Frankly, you probably don't even need a 3-gallon bucket of it. This is a 3-gallon bucket, guys. Whoop. Here's the thing with perlite. These bags have been sitting out in the rain before, so it kind of hydrates them already. The perlite's very dusty, and you don't want to breathe it in if it's dry. In fact, I probably don't want to be doing it in this greenhouse, but just raining so much. I'm taking one for the team, showing you guys all what that is. So, 4 ingredients. I'm going to put it all together. I have this big 20-galloner, and I mix it with my hands. The key when you're mixing, and I just do it with my hands. I'm a gardener. I like this kind of stuff. You can use a shovel if you need help with it. Do whatever works best and safest for you guys. But see, as I'm mixing it together, I want to make sure it's nice and hydrated. So I'm just testing its adhesiveness. See how strong it is as it sticks together. And I want to dig deep and turn it and move it so I don't get pockets of perlite, so I don't get pockets of soil conditioner, so I don't get pockets of compost. It's all mixed together. And now what you have is this great sticky, but as a whole loose soil that is great for pots and containers. And this is good for fig trees, you know. It's a little more porous than others. If there would be anything that I would change to this, I'd probably take out about 10% to 15% of the perlite. And if we're being completely honest, I don't measure this stuff a lot. I eyeball it, just like the way I cook my food. You kind of feel it out as you go along. So like I could even feel this out and be like, hey, I could add a little more compost to this. Or hey, I could add a little more soil conditioner if it didn't mesh right when I mix it together, depending on the environmental conditions around me. If it's been really hot and they really need to hold on to more moisture, I may add some more peat and more compost in there and less of the perlite. If it's been really wet, then maybe add more soil conditioner and more perlite to really get that drainage going. That's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. But yeah, and you really want to feel it out. You really want to know where your compost is coming from. If you go to some of the big box stores, some of their compost won't be totally broken down yet, and it won't be viable. You really want to smell it. So you check your compost and you check, and if it smells kind of clear, there isn't sort of any off scents, or if it still feels like it's smelling kind of poopy and like it's still breaking down, go set it somewhere. It's not viable quite yet, which can hurt your plants or introduce pathogens. You really just want it to be completely broken down, and that's what that good compost is for, because then it's readily bioavailable for the plants. Like I said with the mushroom compost, it's great because it kind of contributes to that whole microbiome, and I want to really get that mycorrhizae in here, and you can add mycorrhizae as an amendment. You can add what I do, where I add my IV Organics well-rounded 333 plant fertilizer. My fig trees love it, guys. So if you are interested in that fertilizer, check the description. I have a discount code of Phil10 for 10% off. IV Organics team is awesome. Really great to work with. So this time of year, at the beginning of fall, late summer here in Wilmington, North Carolina, it's a great time for all my potted figs to be up potted, because they're going to be growing a lot of roots and getting established in that new soil for come next spring. And it saves me a lot of time when I'm working on all my fig cuttings in the spring to have all my potted figs already ready to go and growing. But as you can see here from my fig trees and other fruit trees that I do this with, you can see the soil is quite ready to go. All right, guys, we'll back her up. I have a 1-gallon potted fig that I rooted this winter that is ready to be up potted. This is my Grigio fig. It's a new variety. I learned through Figaholics. That's where I first found out about it. And he said it just has like a nice buttery texture to the fig, which is interesting in my brain to go that route, that savory route with a fig, but still have all those fruity notes. So I'm excited to try it. It looked like a beautiful fig with multi-toned skin and a nice red interior. But what my typical pot upsizing is, if I have a 1-gallon pot, I usually move it into a 3, and then I stick to the odd numbers, 5, 7, 10, and then ultimately 15 if I keep it in a pot all the time. But by 3 or 5 gallons, if I want to move it into the ground, it's a great option to go. After about 1 year of life, they are ready to be moved up into a 3-gallon. In about 2 to 3 year marker, based on how I observe them, they're ready to go up into a bigger pot. If I'm transplanting or up potting into a larger pot, I want to leave the existing root ball as intact as I can, especially when the fig tree is awake. If it is dormant, I'm not too worried about it. So I typically turn it upside down. I look, it actually has a lot more room to grow in here, but because it grew so much on top, I'm going to go ahead and move it into this new pot. It doesn't have to be exact. And I make a little bowl for it, and I try to line up the top of this. See how I put too much in? I want the new dirt to come right up to the soil line of the existing plant. So I'm going to pat it down around it, and I want to leave about a 1/2 inch from the rim of the pot. So if I water it and it overfills with water, it'll go up to the top and drain back down in. It's beautiful to hear the rain out here, guys. Like, it's one of the most peaceful times. My kids are resting. I did some cleaning inside the house before coming out here, and now I'm doing some cleaning outside. And I have just free moment to do it during nap time. Or rest hour for my kids who don't nap. And so see how I've patted it down around it, but I tap it like this, and I really want it to settle into the pot. But it's feeling good, guys. It's a good spread. She's ready to be watered. And this winter, I will probably, depending how much more it grows, I will probably snip it right around here at the 18-inch length marker and see how many scaffolding branches I can grow out of its main stem. All right, let's water. All right, guys, here's the test. If we have good enough draining soil, is if this water goes down. And it is. Look at that. A lot of the peat still needs to be hydrated here, so it might take a little longer for that to happen. It shouldn't expand too much because you want that peat or coconut coir already hydrated. But you can see here, it's already drained down. So I've given this tree a nice big drink after I've up potted it with its new soil. Sometimes the perlite will float to the surface because it is so buoyant. But as a whole, because I use so much of it, it should be all mixed in down there. But hey, you guys, you're adults and you get to play in the dirt. How fun is that? All right. So, Fig Fam, I have shown you how to make potting soil, and this is the best part. If you are gardening on a regular basis in a lot of pots, you're growing fig trees, this is cheaper than going out and buying your potting mix. Over the past 3 years, with all the inflation we've been dealing with in our economy, potting mix has gotten very expensive. So people like me who have small nursery systems that are growing and scaling their nursery business, we will make potting mix for our figs. I'll start as simple as possible, and when I need amendments that the compost can't provide for these fig trees, outside of my garden lime, I look at things like my well-rounded fertilizers, I look at fish emulsion, I look at liquid fertilizers, but I really love the slow release stuff because the goal is to be as simple as possible, which means I get to be as efficient with my time as possible. So, simple potting mix, simple amendment application like my Ivy Organics. And what I do is I usually do a cup of that, I sprinkle it on top, and I massage it into the top of the soil. And then they're good for months. In fact, most of the growing season. But this is a great time of year to plant fig trees in the ground. It's a great time of year to up pot your young fig trees because come next spring and over the winter, they can set their roots and really grow into their next year of growth and become great fig trees to produce a lot of fruit early and often. So, Fig Fam, I gotta go rinse off. I wanted to show you guys my quick baseline of what I do for a quick, simple potting mix that I do for all my fig trees that is well draining, healthy, and lasts months at a time before even up potting. And then what I will amend on top of. You guys heard about that. Again, I'll put that information in the description. As always, thanks for joining me. Take care, Fig Fam.